In today's video we shall discuss about milk and milk products. But before that, do subscribe to my channel and let me know your opinions and suggestions in the comment box. Milk is a white, nutrient-rich liquid food. Milk is regarded as a complete food because of its rich content of protein, fat, carbohydrates, all known vitamins and various minerals essential for sustaining life and maintaining good health. Milk is around 87% water and 13% solid. The proteins present in the milk are fast-soluble. Casein is only found in milk, which is storehouse of all essential amino acids. It alone accounts for almost 82% of all the proteins found in milk. Apart from these, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium etc. are also found, which is why milk is a complete food. Milk products. Dairy product, milk and any of the foods made from milk, including butter, cheese, ice cream, yogurt, and condensed and dried milk. Milk has been used by humans since the beginning of recorded time to provide both fresh and storable nutritious foods. Butter. Butter is a dairy product made from the fat and protein components of milk or cream. It is a semi-solid emulsion at room temperature, consisting of approximately 80% butter fat. It is used at room temperature as a spread, melted as a condiment, and used as an ingredient in baking, sauce making, pan frying, and other cooking procedures. Butter is a water and oil emulsion resulting from an inversion of the cream, where the milk proteins are the emulsifiers. Butter remains a firm solid when refrigerated, but softens to a spreadable consistency at room temperature, and melts to a thin liquid consistency at 32 to 35 degrees Celsius. Butter production. Milk and cream is collected from cows. Cream is separated from the milk. The cream can be either supplied by a fluid milk dairy or separated from whole milk by the butter manufacturer. The cream should be sweet, pH greater than 6.6, not rancid, not oxidized, and free from all flavors. The cream is pasteurized at a temperature of 95 degrees Celsius or more to destroy enzymes and microorganisms. Ripening. Sometimes, cultures are added to ferment milk sugars to lactic acid and desirable flavor and aroma characteristics for cultured butter. This is more common in European butters. After the initial manufacturing process of the cheese is done, the cheese ripening process occurs. This process is especially important, since it defines the flavor and texture of the cheese, which differentiates the many varieties. Duration is dependent on the type of cheese and the desired quality, and typically ranges from 3 weeks to 2 or more years. Ripening is influenced by a variety of factors, ranging from the microflora to the curd, and others. The enzymatic process is the most crucial process for all cheeses, although bacteria plays a role in many varieties. Aging. Cream is held at cool temperatures to crystallize the butterfat globules, ensuring proper churning and texture of the butter. In the aging tank, the cream is subjected to a program of controlled cooling designed to give the fat the required crystalline structure. As a rule, aging takes 12 to 15 hours. From the aging tank, the cream is pumped to the churn or continuous butter maker via a plate heat exchanger, which brings it to the requisite temperature. Churning. Cream is agitated, and eventually butter granules form, grow larger, and coalesce. In the end, there are 2 phases left: a semi-solid mass of butter, and the liquid left over, which is the buttermilk. Draining and washing. Thus the cream is split into 2 fractions: butter grains and buttermilk. In traditional churning, the machine stops when the grains have reached a certain size, whereupon the buttermilk is drained off. With the continuous butter maker, the draining of the buttermilk is also continuous. After draining, the butter is worked to a continuous fat phase containing a finely dispersed water phase. It used to be common practice to wash the butter after churning to remove any residual buttermilk and milk solids, but this is rarely done today. This washing process would ensure that all the buttermilk is washed out of the butter. Otherwise, the butter would not keep and go rancid. Salting and working. Salt is used to improve the flavor and the shelf life, as it acts as a preservative. Further, the butter is worked to improve its consistency. Today's commercial butter making is a product of the knowledge and experience gained over the years in such matters as hygiene, bacterial acidifying and heat treatment, as well as the rapid technical development that has led to the advanced machinery now used. The commercial cream separator was introduced at the end of the 19th century. The continuous churn had been commercialized by the middle of the 20th century. Common types of butter are unsalted butter, clarified butter, organic butter, whipped butter, European-style butter, and plant-based butter. Cheese. Cheese is a dairy product, derived from milk and produced in wide ranges of flavors, textures, and forms by coagulation of the milk protein casein. It comprises proteins and fat from milk, usually the milk of cows, buffalo, goats, or sheep. Cheese production. Making cheese is both an art and a science. Cheesemakers rely as much on measurements of pH levels and inoculations of specific molds as they do their own senses of sight, touch, and smell. There are 6 important steps in cheese making, namely acidification, coagulation, separating curds and whey, salting, shaping, and ripening. While the recipes for all cheeses vary, these steps outline the basic process of turning milk into cheese and are also used to make cheese at home. Acidification. The first step to making cheese is acidification. During this stage, a starter culture is added to milk that will change lactose, milk sugar, into lactic acid. This changes the acidity level of the milk and begins the process of turning milk from a liquid into a solid. Coagulation. Coagulation is the process of transforming the liquid into a semi-solid. When making cheese, an enzyme called rennet is added either as a liquid or paste to further encourage the milk to solidify. Curds and whey. As the milk solidifies, it forms curd and whey. The curds are the solid part and whey is the liquid. In this step, the curds are cut using a knife or a tool that resembles a rake. Cutting the curds further encourages them to expel whey. Generally, the smaller the curds are cut, the harder the resulting cheese will be. Soft cheeses like Camembert or Brie are hardly cut at all. Harder cheeses like Cheddar and Gruyere are cut into a very fine texture. For these harder cheeses, the curds are further manipulated by cheddaring or cooking. Cooking the curd changes its texture, making it tender rather than crumbly. When this process is complete, the whey is drained away, leaving the curd alone to become cheese. Salting. Salt is added for flavor. It also acts as a preservative so the cheese does not spoil during the long months or years it spends aging, and it helps to form a natural rind on the cheese. There are several ways to use salt. Salt can be added directly into the curd as the cheese is being made. The outside of the wheel of cheese can be rubbed with salt or with a damp cloth that has been soaked in brine. The cheese can also be bathed directly in a vat of brine, as it is for mozzarella. Shaping. In this stage, each type of cheese takes its familiar form as a solid block or wheel. The cheese is put into a basket or a mold to form it into a specific shape. At the same time, the cheese is also pressed with weights or a machine to expel any remaining liquid. Ripening. Referred to as affinage, this process ages cheese until it reaches optimal ripeness. During this time, the temperature and humidity of the cave or room where the cheese ages are closely monitored. An experienced affineur knows how to properly treat each cheese so it develops the desired flavor and texture. For some cheeses, ambient molds in the air give the cheese a distinct flavor. For others, mold is introduced by spraying it on the cheese or injecting it into the cheese. Some cheeses must be turned, some must be brushed with oil, and some must be washed with brine or alcohol. The amount of time a cheese is left to ripen depends on the type of cheese and the cheesemaker's desired outcome. It may take several months to quite a few years for a cheese to age, but once finished, it is ready to be packaged. Common types of cheese are mozzarella, manchego, gorgonzola, epoisses, Swiss cheese, Gouda cheese, Monterey Jack, Munster cheese, provolone, blue cheese, camembert, and Irish cheddar. Curd. Curd is a dairy product obtained by coagulating milk in a process called curdling. The coagulation can be caused by adding rennet or any edible acidic substance such as lemon juice or vinegar, and then allowing it to coagulate. The increased acidity causes the milk proteins to tangle into solid masses, or curds. Curdling is the breaking of an emulsion or colloid into large parts of different composition through the physiochemical processes of flocculation, creaming, and coalescence. Curdling is purposeful in the production of cheese curd and tofu, undesirable in the production of a sauce, cheese fondue, or a custard. Cream. Cream is a dairy product composed of the higher fat layer skimmed from the top of milk before homogenization. In unhomogenized milk, the fat, which is less dense, eventually rises to the top. In the industrial production of cream, this process is accelerated by using centrifuges called separators. The cream after processing is packaged in suitable containers and stored at low temperature, below 5 degrees Celsius. If the cream is sterilized, it can be stored at ambient temperature. Ghee. Ghee is typically prepared by simmering butter, which is churned from cream, traditionally made by churning the topmost layer of dahi, skimming any impurities from the surface, then pouring and retaining the clear liquid fat while discarding the solid residue that has settled to the bottom. Spices can be added for flavor. The texture, color, and taste of ghee depend on the quality of the butter, the milk source used in the process, and the duration of time spent boiling. It is commonly used in cuisine of the Indian subcontinent, Middle Eastern cuisine, Southeast Asian cuisine, traditional medicine, and religious rituals. Yogurt. Yogurt is a food produced by bacterial fermentation of milk. The bacteria used to make yogurt are known as yogurt cultures. The fermentation of lactose by these bacteria produces lactic acid, which acts on milk protein to give yogurt its texture and characteristic tart flavor. The milk used may be homogenized or not. It may be pasteurized or raw. Each type of milk produces substantially different results. Low-fat dairy products that do not contain added sugar can be a healthful addition to any diet, as long as the person does not have an allergy or intolerance. Milk provides protein and a range of vitamins and minerals, including calcium, which is vital for bone health. Experts recommend that people at risk of cardiovascular disease and those who seek to control their weight avoid consuming full-fat milk. Anyone who wishes to drink milk but is not sure if it is a good idea can speak to their doctor or a dietitian.